If you've been doing the work and there's still one trigger that drops you every time, that trigger isn't random. It's connected to something your nervous system's been protecting you from since before the addiction ever started. In this video, I'm going to show you what's exactly living underneath that trigger and why your body keeps responding to it even when you've changed everything else. I spent the last 30 years battling addiction and have spent the last several years researching addiction and neuropsychology, and I teach simple systems to overcoming any type of addiction to my Muslim brothers. And later in this video, I'm going to give you one question you can ask yourself in the middle of a trigger that completely shifts what happens next. And there's a free community for Muslim brothers where you can catch up or go much deeper on all of this, link in the description. Now, you've probably had one or two triggers that feel different from the rest. Maybe it's a specific time of night. Maybe it's after an argument. Maybe it's a certain kind of loneliness that shows up on a random Tuesday. And you've noticed something different. Your tools work for most urges, but when that particular trigger hits, it's like a switch that flips and everything you've built just isn't there anymore. And you start thinking something must be wrong with you because you should be past this by now. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why that trigger pulls harder than the others, and you'll have a way to work with it instead of just trying to muscle through it every time. We're going to cover three things. First, why certain triggers bypass everything you've built. Second, what's actually stored underneath that trigger. And third, a practice that works with the deeper layer instead of against it. Have you ever walked into a room and felt anxious for no reason? Nothing wrong, no threat, but your chest got tight, maybe your breathing changed, or you started sweating, and you didn't even have a conscious thought about it. That happens because your body stores memories differently than your mind. Your mind stores facts and events, the story of what happened. Your body stores the feeling, the sensation, and the body's memory is much faster than our brain. Think of it like this. You're walking down the street at night and something moves in the corner of your eye. Your heart rate spikes, muscles tense, adrenaline hits. All of that happens in milliseconds. Before you turn your head, before you even know what the shadow is, your body's already decided it was a threat and started responding. That's your strongest trigger. The trigger isn't just a situation. It's like a key that fits a lock that your body created years ago, maybe decades ago. And because the body moves faster than the mind, by the time you're aware you're triggered, your nervous system's already running on that old program, that old conditioning. So when you try to use willpower on these, you're too late. You're bringing a slow tool to a fast problem. Now here's where it gets deeper, because the real question is, what did your body actually store? What's the feeling that lock was built around? When you think about your worst trigger, what emotion shows up underneath the urge itself? If you slow down enough to feel it, what's actually there? I'll be honest, it took me years to even ask that question. I was so focused on fighting the behavior, trying to stop, trying to control, that I never paused long enough to notice what was actually driving it. And when I finally did, what I found was kind of dated. It had nothing to do with the addiction. It was a feeling from way before that. And for a lot of brothers, when they actually sit with it, they find one of a few things: loneliness, helplessness, the feeling of being rejected, or shame that existed long before any addictive behavior showed up. Here's what I've come to understand. The urge is actually a solution. The addiction is a solution, something your nervous system came up with a long time ago. When you were young, something happened that created a feeling too big to process. Maybe constant criticism, maybe watching your parents in conflict and feeling like you couldn't do anything about it. Maybe being alone and nobody coming. Your nervous system did something intelligent. It found a way to not feel that. It found a behavior that numbed it or replaced it. That became the go-to. Every time that original feeling gets activated, even by something completely unrelated years later, your body runs the same program. Trigger, avoid the feeling, reach for the behavior. The behavior's changed over the years for me. Before Islam, it was alcohol, cannabis, nicotine, pornography. And after Islam, those stopped, but the pattern moved to overspending and sugar. Different surface behaviors, same feeling underneath. So when that one trigger hits and everything you've built seems to vanish, it's because that trigger is touching something from long before the addiction, something your body's been running from for a very long time. Brothers, if this is making sense, there's a free community for Muslim men where we go deeper on all of this. Link in the description. What's the first thing you do when that trigger fires? If you're like most brothers, you go where I used to go. You fight it. You grit your teeth. You make dhikr. You distract yourself. And for regular urges, that can work. But for these deep ones, for these addictions, it usually doesn't. Or maybe it'll work for a while, but then you end up going back to it. Because you're fighting what's on the surface, while the real problem is happening underneath. Here's the practice. When that specific trigger hits and you feel the pull, don't try to stop it. Instead, drop your attention out of your head and into your body. Where's the feeling? Put your hand on that spot, as if tightness in your chest, a pit in your stomach, pressure behind your eyes, a lump in the throat. Stay with it. Don't analyze it. Don't try to figure out where it came from. Just let it sit. And breathe into it. That's what activates the nervous system. Just for 30 seconds. You don't have to do this. I mean, optimally, you do it for about 10 minutes, but even if you just do that for 30 seconds, you're getting into the practice. And what most brothers find when they actually do this, and it surprised me too, is that the feeling is bearable. It's uncomfortable. It can be intense, but it doesn't kill you. The reason you've been avoiding it is because the first time you felt it, you were too young to handle it. Well, you're not too young anymore. That feeling actually wants to move through you. And when you give it space instead of blocking it, the grip loosens. Your body stops running that old program because you finally stop giving it a reason to protect you. Remember at the start I said there was one question that changes what happens when a trigger hits? Here it is. When you feel that pull, instead of asking yourself, how do I stop this? Ask this. What am I actually trying not to feel right now? If this urge wasn't here, what would I have to feel? That one question redirects everything. It takes you out of fight or flight with the urge and into contact with the feeling underneath. And that feeling, the one you've been avoiding, is the back door the loop has been using every single time. Once you're willing to feel it, even for 30 seconds, the urge loses its fuel. But here's the thing. Sitting with that feeling is powerful. And the moment you try, a voice shows up and says things like, this is stupid. Who is this brother anyway? How many subscribers does he have? Just stop thinking about it and go pray. That voice has been running interference your whole life. And until you learn to recognize what that voice actually is, it'll pull you out of that feeling and back into your head every single time. And I break that down in this video. As-salamu alaykum.